So what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Vision for Us podcast. My name is Terrence.
I'm Angelica, and we're the
Praetors.
Praetors. We got this one right.
I know, right?
If you watch any of our last episodes, you will see we left all the bloopers in too.
I'm leaving the bloopers in. We're not editing. It just takes too much time, and people want real, authentic.
Yes, so you're getting all of the rawness.
All of it. Every last little bit of it, okay?
So what we got for the people today?
All right, for the people today, we have this episode is going to be how to divide roles in a couple-owned business without conflict.
Ooh, that's going to be good.
How do you feel about that?
I feel it's a conversation that most are not having.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one of the reasons why we have this podcast is so that they can be equipped with some of the stuff that we got wrong.
Yeah, that we struggled with, what we got wrong. And it brought us to this point to where we just blew up everything, every business and everything of trying to do things separately.
Yes.
And joining together and trying to build one.
Yes.
Thing together.
Which I love our tagline. It's like our life mantra.
Yeah. One vision, one mission, one legacy. And that's honestly, if you really think about it, that's exactly what I've been trying to get across.
Yes, we know, but listen, y'all gonna hear this
for years.
So you'll be like, you ain't over it yet, Terrence. Like, it's okay. Y'all can come for him in the comments and be like, come on, get over it. She's on board now.
I welcome it.
No, but for real.
Yeah.
When you think about marriage, it's the becoming of one. And that is a journey.
Right.
You don't, because you said I do, the day you said I do, you are one.
Right.
It is a journey to get to that oneness. And you have to literally die to yourself. Not that you lose your individuality, but it is becoming the one of what does that look like?
Right.
And in this world today, everybody got an opinion about what does it look like to be married, what should happen in a marriage, and all this stuff.
What you should do, what you
shouldn't do. Like we said, we are not experts in marriage at all. But why we even have this is that we want to create a space where we're having the conversations that nobody's having. And then we're having the conversations that sound different to culture. Because culture wants you to be divorced in 2.5 seconds. You ain't happy, so bye. Guess what? Marriage was not designed for you to just be happy. Like, think about it. If you're happy every single day of your life, or you never go through any adversities, what are you learning? You're just skipping through.
Yeah.
That is like a bunch of nonsense. So every day I'm not happy in the feeling like, I'm excited. But what I am is I have an uncontrollable amount of joy. And sometimes that's more than happiness, in my opinion.
That's very important.
I was saying wasn't I saying the other day, I was like, I like being married. Like, I just randomly said it to him. I just like being married. Now, that's not to say, like, I was single for a long time before we got together, and I enjoyed my single season. Right. And I think when you maximize your single season and you date thyself, God can only show you but so much about yourself. And so when you get into something, to become one was not easy for me, because I had to let go of the old version of myself and then become a wife to him, not a wife to culture, a wife to him. Like, this is the only person I'm covered under. I don't have to answer to anybody else but him and God. Other than that, I owe nobody anything.
And it's the same thing for me too. I had to figure out what being a husband to you looks like.
Yeah.
And figuring that out.
And I'm not the same as I was day one. So that is a constant learning. So the becoming of one never stops.
No.
Because you're constantly, as long as you're working on your marriage, and that's the priority, you're always going to be becoming one. And it looks different in every stage, depending on what life is giving you. So I know I went on a soapbox, y'all, but just had to
but
say
it's
that.
Okay.
But go ahead. What we have for you is we want to give you 5 practical things that we are implementing and we think it will be helpful for you.
Yeah. Once I find where the notes are, hold on.
Oh, you got it? Ain't it right there?
I don't know.
Oh, let me look at it.
See, I done hit the phone by accident where the notes were at, and poof.
Yeah, he's scrolling.
I wasn't trying to scroll.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
I'll let you lead, boo.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
because you lead all the time on this. All right. So again, this is how to divide roles in a couple-owned business without conflict. So the first thing is to identify each partner's energy zones, not just skills. Ooh, this is very important.
Yes.
Where's your energy zone?
So I enjoy talking to people. So I love talking to the people. So depending on what your business model is.
Well, when I say energy zone, meaning when is the best time that you work?
I work best when the kids are not here. I don't do well with multitasking.
Okay.
At all. So I can't do multiple tasks at once, period. So in the business, I operate more in the morning times. Like for me, well rested, get up, set, and then start right away. I can go right into business mode, but I did that for a long time.
Right.
Where for him, you want to go into like doing your personal regimen. And then for me, I used to sleep to the last second. First of all, digress, right? My energy zone. When I was a single woman and I had my own business, I used to sleep. Like I picked a certain place where I wanted to live in proximity to where the business was. So I didn't have a long commute. My commute was less than 5 minutes. I would set up my clients the night before because I knew who was coming in the morning, especially if they didn't cancel or anything. My clients didn't cancel, thank God. But yeah, I would roll out of the bed like maybe 30 minutes before. But I put my clothes out the night before. Like I always knew what I was wearing down to the earrings, the everything. I knew everything. So it gave me more time.
Whereas when we were friends and I would call you at 7 o'clock.
Calling that early. I'm like, boy, I'm still asleep. Like I didn't even get up. But I like to be in bed for like an extra 2 hours. He's like, who does that?
Who does that? Yeah. When you have, whereas for me, it's like, get up an hour, 2 hours before. Well, especially when I was driving to base on Camp Pendleton, you definitely got to do that.
But your energy zone, my energy zone is, I operate better during the day.
And I operate better during the night. Like I wake up, my energy boost is high at nights. I can't sleep really well at night. So
certain projects, like if we're working on something, he will do them at night, and may not do a lot of the task work that he has to do during the day. And I had to accept
it. But that's after we have our time with the kids' time. That's after. And more so waiting until you fall asleep. Yeah.
And I had to realize that I need the rest. So I operate much better when I get rest. I can do all the tasks that I need to do. I can focus during the day. That's easy for me. For him, he's like, I'm a little tired. I need to like pace myself. He moves slower during the day, and he wants to be having a real conversation, or I can't sit on the computer that long. Right. That is exhausting for me. So I think
it's really exhausting to me too, honestly speaking.
Yeah, but I think when you get into flow, you're just in a flow better at night. Right. But going to sleep together, like us being in the bed together, is important. So he'll go to bed with me, but if he can't sleep, he'll just get up and then work. Right. And then if he needs to sleep in a little later, or we discuss something like, hey, you're going to get the kids up, or whatever the case may be, and it's my turn to kind of sleep in, that just works for us.
Whereas another zone that you have better skills than I do is networking and talking to people.
Yes.
I don't too much like talking to too many people.
He just checks out, y'all. So, and that's okay. I had to come to terms that he's not like me. Cause I'm like, dude, it's just people. Like, but I can walk in a room and he's like, everybody just comes up to you and just starts telling you all their business, and you'll get all of their whole resume or what's happening in their life or their problems. Down to like when we were selling our furniture and the lady came and got her stuff. Yeah. And then when she left, she's like, oh, can I give you a hug? And he's like, she was only in the house maybe 5 minutes. She told me her whole life of why she was buying the sofa from us. And you were like, how did that happen? She's like, oh, if you have anything else, just pray for my daughter. I'm like, I didn't say anything about God or anything like that, period. But it just happens. I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy loving up on people. But I also love digress. When I'm done. I have nothing else to give.
Now, let me ask you a question. Because we're not the same, does that make you resent me? Because I don't.
No, I don't want you to fill in my tank because I don't want to be in your tank,
right?
Like at all.
You don't want to be in each other's genius zones. If you don't have passion for it, you definitely don't want to. And not that I don't have passion for talking to people, I just don't over talking or over exaggerating, especially when I'm talking to other men.
Yeah,
it's like get to the point,
and then that's it.
And that's it. Don't do a whole ring around the rosy. Before you get straight to the point.
Yeah, he doesn't do well with that because then you'll just be like, okay, so what was the point? So that's what we're different at.
Right.
So when we were building the old business and we blew it up, it was like, you do all the cold calling. That's what I don't do good at. I don't enjoy cold calling. First of all, I don't even like receiving cold calls.
I thought that because you had a brick and mortar and salon business, that you had no problem with cold calling.
No, because here's the difference. I didn't cold call when I moved. So just a little backstory, y'all. When I started my hair career, I started in New York and I started in a traditional salon. So I worked for people. I learned the business of how to run it. Then I moved to California and I started my own business from day one, like moving to a new city. And so the strategy that I used was I knew what type of client I wanted. I knew who they were. I kind of studied a little bit, not a lot, but I was like, okay, this is a small town. Excuse me, y'all. I moved to a city called Temecula. And so that was a small town. It was starting to grow. And so I was like, I want to go where the people are making moves. Where are they? They're in networking groups. People that work, people who are established, where are they? I want to be where they are. So I joined a networking group like a Chamber of Commerce. I ended up getting a huge clientele just from going and networking. Did I cold call? No. Did I even have an online presence? No. I was like, I need to start making money in the community and build my reputation because it's a small city. That's the strategy I use. And so I'm like, that's the strategy I even give to my clients who were working with us at the time in the coaching space, was because a lot of them were so focused on social media. Social media is like, especially if you're a hairstylist or it's your digital blueprint, right? And so people are going to
kind of portfolio.
Yeah, it's like your portfolio. They're going to get to know you. They're going to get to like and trust you. But for them to be making a decision, if you're not being able to be found on Google, then you're lost because people make buying decisions from like Google. If they're looking for something, they're going to Google. Right. And then Google is on YouTube and Google are one company.
Right.
So that's where they're going to make a buying decision. They're not on Instagram scrolling over and over. That's mindless behavior. So if that is your primary social media platform, that's fine. But you need to be in the local community where you're actually, because you could be locally poor and global known all over the place, but global known does not translate into dollars.
Does not translate.
So that's where he was like, you should be able to cold call. I'm like, I don't enjoy that. And I feel like just because that's a strategy that works for people, don't try to borrow everybody's strategy and think that it's going to work because it worked for them. I think that you should work in your genius zone.
That is true.
And I can't stand receiving like spam emails. I cannot stand. I'm not even reading them. I barely respond to them. I don't care how clever you are with your opening and all. I'm not doing that. And then the second thing, I'm not calling you on the telephone. I want to meet you face to face. And when you want to remember my name and I want to remember yours. Okay. So I think even though my skill set came easy of communicating, that wasn't one of the lanes I wanted to stay in.
Okay. Now we are recording during the day. So although my energy is not really
as high. You need to like rev it up. You need to like give it a little bit more. Give us a little bit more energy. They don't want to feel like you sleepy.
I'm not sleepy.
I know. He's just more mellow during the day.
I'm more mellow during the day, and at night, I don't know why my energy just spikes up to the roof.
I think it has a lot to do with maybe your training. I don't know. I have no idea. But he's more excited at night, and I'm like, I'm going to catch all the Z's and count all the sheep if I can. I fall asleep in 2.5 seconds.
2.5 seconds, especially when that little foot starts shaking like
this.
Shaking?
I'm out, y'all. Not all the way out. He could be having a whole conversation, and I'm like, and then before I know it, I'm off. So, yeah. So I definitely think that accepting each person's genius zone and like their energy, where they get the most energy at. Because I know that other couples that work together, somebody can be really good at like you said, networking, or somebody could be really good at maybe all the graphics and all the social media. So that person stays in that zone, or creating the content, right? They're really good at it. Where someone is more great at, maybe more administrative stuff. So, and they're like, oh, I love the spreadsheets and I love this and I love all of that. You know, just whatever it is. It's not just what you're skilled at, but where you operate best at.
Well, you did go meet the mayor.
Yes.
And we both went. But the introduction was because of you.
Yeah.
And,
I was like, I'll just reach out to him. He's just a person.
Yeah.
And he was very receptive in the town that we're living in right now. And I said, I want to know what's going on in the community, because if we are a small business owner and we are a couple in the community, we want to know what's happening in the community. I just don't believe that you should only build on social media. I think you should build locally.
I believe it too.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Number 2, create a no compete rule for responsibilities.
This one we fail at. We be failing. Okay. We got a F. No, I'm just joking.
No, that's not true.
No, in the beginning. Yes. Tell on yourself. On yourself. Okay.
So, many couples fight for control. Power. Yeah.
Go ahead. Tell on yourself. I ain't saying nothing. I'm
talking about telling myself. What have I done to compete for?
So he is a competitive person. I am not. It's not that I don't compete. I just compete for different things, I guess, in my mind.
Well, you shouldn't really.
Not in your marriage.
Well, I feel kind of different about that. Like, you can compete in certain things.
Like what? Give me an example.
I don't know. Games.
Yes. I'm talking about
a sport that both of you like.
Yeah.
If like, for instance, if we were both basketball players, I mean, and we had love for the sport like that, we would compete.
Yes, I 100% agree. But we talking about business.
Okay, yeah, we're talking about no compete rule for responsibilities.
Okay.
So it's important to have. How do you feel? How important it is to have clear ownership of tasks. Each person owns specific tasks and responsibilities without the overlap or micromanagement.
Yeah, I was like, go ahead, keep going. Yes, I think it is imperative that you clearly define this. Now, I'm not saying y'all get this right all the time. Okay. I do not get this right all the time.
Whereas I don't get right with the micromanagement.
No, he is king of micromanaging. Because if it don't look a certain way, he's like, wait, hold up. Just a simple thing. Me cooking, right? I was cooking today and I'm peeling my little hard-boiled egg. He's like, you got shell on it. Mind you, the shell is on my hand. I will figure it out. But he's just a microman. And he can't help it. And at first, I used to get on my nerves. Now it doesn't bother me. I think as you grow in your relationship, it's just like, that's just him, right? Certain things are just him. And it's his way of looking out. That's not how it translates.
Well, ding. You finally got it.
Yeah. And that's all it is. It's not, I just had to stop taking it personally.
But the rolling of the eyes and everything.
Yeah. My eyes would be in the back of my head, y'all. But I will say, tying it back to business, definitely defining the roles, because there's certain tasks that I am really good at that I can get down packed. If I need to outreach or just say, even though I said I don't like cold calling, I can outreach or connect with someone online and just, that comes kind of easy for me. He don't want to connect with nobody, period.
It's not that I don't want to connect. I'm
sorry. I'm not throwing you down the butt because they were like, why y'all want to work together? Why we want to work together?
It's not that I don't want to connect with anybody.
It's just not your genius zone.
It's just not my...
Yeah.
I just don't like wasting my
he
time.
Sees it as a waste of time.
It's not a waste of time. Let me rephrase that. It goes back to what I said earlier. I want to get straight to the point. Let's get straight to the point. And then I don't, definitely, when it comes to talking to people, if they're looking down all the time or looking around and things of that nature and not looking to you in your face, it annoys me.
Yeah. So, and for those who may be watching, you're like, okay, that's my type of guy. Get straight to the point, right? But there are some gentlemen that's, that may be different.
Right.
What I mean by defining roles for our business we both create content separately, right? So I have like my own Facebook. I got off of Instagram a long time ago, but we have our Instagram for the podcast. So that's both of our Instagrams, and we kind of like manage that together and collectively. I am not a graphic person. I don't do graphics or anything. I'm not even a good writer, right? I'm not the best writer at all. But if I'm writing my thoughts or like to be a little humorous or like to relate, that comes super easy for me. And he can't create that for me. Right. When I'm talking about the kids or I'm talking about what we're doing or anything like that, that comes super easy for me to create. And that's what gives us the best engagement, right? Where for him, he likes a different type of humor. Your content is very different, right? So we have our own separate things, but they are coinciding together. Certain tasks within our business, meaning I handle, what do I handle?
I don't know.
So we do a lot together. That's the thing. But certain tasks, okay, for instance,
I do all the websites.
He does all the websites. I want no part of it, period. I know what I like to see. I know what I like aesthetically to come together. Even though I went to school for fashion merchandise management, that's just not my genius zone, and I don't try to do that. So those particular tasks, like if there's an update or any type of things that has to go into tech, I want no parts of it per se at all. But he will ask me, hey, do you like this? And it's usually when he's at the end of it. Hey, I've done this. But now he's like, because I'll be coming with a lot of notes. So he'd be like, no, each step, I want you to say what you like, what you don't like, and change it, because I'm not going back. He likes, once he's done, he's not going back to do it again unless he has to update it. So we define that those are his skill sets that he operates very well, and I don't try to go into it, and I'm not competing and try to micromanage him over there. But he does get my input when he's completed one section. Where for me, he's no longer micromanaging over my content. Because before, when I was like, you just do it, and it was out of laziness because I just didn't want to do it. The second part was, he's like, I can't speak how you want me to speak. I don't think how you think. I don't, I'm not going to do those different things. So it was just certain tasks. Financial, anything of the finances and the business and the house, that's more me. We'll have the conversations about it, but it's certain tasks that I will do. So networking for, like, I'll say, hey, there's a networking event that's coming up. I think it would be very good for us to go. Or, hey, I'm going to take a call with this person. Do you think this is of value? Right. When it comes to negotiating salaries or negotiating, not really salaries, but if I get invited to speak somewhere, I'm not doing any of that. I move all of that towards him. And it's not because people get really familiar with me, and I just want to buffer between the familiarity and then the money. So I let everybody know, oh, okay, well, I'm going to pass the torch to my husband. He handles all of that, all the negotiation. So that works well for us. You just have to define what works for you guys. And when we talk about competing, this is where conflict comes in. Because if you don't define, okay, you're going to take care of this. And that is not to mean that you don't have the liberty to just do it. I just include him as like for instance, our expenses regarding running a business. What if it's getting a little out of hand with the subscription? Because he's quick to like, oh, this would be great. This is great too. This. And I'm like, okay.
More so on the creative side.
On the creative side, it's like, I understand we can use all of that, but I like to keep it simple and lean. The leaner the process of our finances are, in my case, if it's saving us time, I'm down for it. If it's going to save him time, I'm down for it. If it's going to help us evolve as a business, then yeah. But if it's like we have a system and it's already working, we don't need to implement something else that you have to learn and then kind of start all over. I'm not for that. So those are the things that we had to like lean on and kind of figure out.
How do you think we created trust with respecting each other's leadership within those roles?
I think it was through failure.
Yeah.
We had to fail at it, and then realize it. Yeah, I think that a lot of trial and error. I think that a lot of times in business, we're afraid to fail, right? But it's those lessons that makes it really great for you to learn. Yeah, but I think it's different for you because of your training in like the military. For most people, we're not comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you grow up in traditional school and then you're like, hey, you get an A for everything, you kind of, I mean, this is me speculating maybe, and maybe just for me, but I think that when you're always getting an A,
Mm-hmm.
like that's the level of success. And then when you get a C,
Like,
but thank God for my grandma. My grandma's a G. Okay. Because I remember one time, like, she is Miss Excellent Queen, go for the stars. But I remember she was like, boo, that is not your gift. So just get a C. And I was like, oh, just pass. And I was like, ooh, she giving me a little leeway.
See, no, not mine.
But my grandma was a creative.
No.
And I don't think that a lot of people have grandparents that are creative.
Mm-hmm.
And because my grandmother played the euphonium horn, I think I'm saying it right, and she played the claves and she played the piano, and so she was very creative and she was a little bit more rough. I think that she thought in a creative space. And just shout out to my grandma, but my grandma did raise me after my mom passed away, and a whole village of women raised me after that. That's not a separate topic. But I think it gave me room to try to fail, but I still ushered better in always not failing.
Okay, cool. All right, number 3, use weekly business sync meetings to avoid surprises. So how do we do that? How
you
do
hate surprises.
Share how a weekly sync helps keep both of us on the same page to review progress on tasks, address bottlenecks or concerns, and then setting priorities for the upcoming week.
Well, we don't really have like a set weekly meeting at all. So that's just, and it's the reason why this is on the list is because it's something that we want to implement.
Right.
So he had a goal of how many episodes we would record this week. So when the week started, it's like, okay, we're going to do this amount of episodes, record it.
Which is not going that way.
But that doesn't mean because there's more days that we can't catch up.
Right.
Right. So what was the question again? Sorry.
How a weekly sync helps keep both partners on the same page. So
you work very in crunch time. We were talking about it and laughing with your sister, like the last minute, and he's just getting everything done. I don't like that. And so the reason why this is on the list, because it will help us to develop. It will. Because him waiting to the last minute, although he gets it done, it's not worth it in the long run. If this, if we're trying to grow something that is a legacy and you're always doing something at the last minute, just like I had to break a bad habit to start creating a new schedule for us, working out at the same time, going to the gym at the same, all of those different things, then it's something that you have to do.
Right.
What I think that a weekly kind of check-in will do for us is help us monitor like the small milestones that we talked in the previous episode. It would help us like, okay, we're reaching because we're doing something. Okay, what we do sync is we do sync calendars. He don't like to write no appointments down.
I don't.
Period. Which is why he automates a lot of the parts of our business because he doesn't want to have to do an extra step. Where for me, I put the kids' stuff in, I do all of that. That keeps us in sync. So it's like, but he's not going to look at, if I say, did you look at the calendar? He's not even going to look at it. It's like, what's the point of having a calendar if you're not going to use a calendar? So I just so bad at it. So I just simply say, oh, the kids have this day, this time. And I give him a couple of days ahead of time so that it's in his mind.
I can wrap my head around it.
Yeah. But the whole point is for us to have a calendar. So don't do like we do, right? Yeah. We put on the list to help you so that we can get better, right? Because we haven't done this really good. And even if it's not weekly, maybe it's monthly.
We do have meetings.
They're just so really sporadic. Yeah. I think that we need to be intentional. Yeah. And I think that when it is intentional, then you can move the needle a little bit further. Okay. So we're still struggling in this area, just keeping it all the way real.
And how do you think that would help with like blaming or misunderstanding? It will help tremendously with blaming.
Yeah, because if you didn't get anything done, I say, okay, well, these tasks, if we come to a meeting, you say, these are the tasks that I'm going to take in the beginning of the week. These are the things that we need to, and that's why I think it's good to have a weekly, because then I lied to myself. And then I say, I didn't manage the time that was allotted to me.
Okay.
So all it can do is hold you accountable. I don't have to get in an argument with you. I don't have to have a conflict with you, because once we come to the meeting and you're like, okay, so let's run down what do we do this week? Let's go over our tasks that we were supposed to take care of this week. Because you set a goal for the week. That's business. We set a goal for a personal. I think, like I said on a previous episode, self-integrity is the best. I can't predict what every day is going to be like.
Right.
But if I at least say, you know what, I didn't get this done, whether you got sick or anything, that's the beauty of having time freedom, is that you can make up the difference in another area. So I think it's a great thing to implement, even though we haven't implemented yet.
So we lack the structured check-ins.
Oh yeah, we
lack it.
Yeah, we're lacking it now, but because it is working doesn't mean that we don't need to implement it. Right?
I guess.
Yeah. And see, that's like, sometimes you got to wait for the other person, just like you had to wait for me to start the podcast, y'all.
How many years?
A long time. We ain't talking about the years. It's going to take him a little bit more grace to come on over to this part, but that's okay. Like I'm okay with waiting for you to get to that place, especially if we hire a team.
No, okay. Yeah. I think, with me being in the military and being so rigid, there's certain things.
But you want to be rigid on certain things, and certain things you don't want to be rigid on.
That's my creative space, my creative mind. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Okay, so disregard what I just said, because it doesn't.
Regard it.
Just disregard it, because it
regard it. Yes,
it didn't make sense. So, okay.
I'm glad you caught yourself though. You know how like you just be talking, right? That happens to me all the time. I'm like, that didn't make no sense, girl. Like, what are you talking about? You just all over the place. And it's like, that didn't make no sense. But you know.
Okay. All right. So we do have to implement it. Again, the whole point of Vision for Us is to bring you information where we lack and we failed from, and have from trials and errors from opening several different businesses, and not only necessarily failing at them, but closing them down, things of the nature, hiring people at the wrong time in our business. And spending lots amounts of money and not really counting the cost and how it affects not us, but the whole family, and how it affects the future, which we'll go into more detail about that and things of that nature. So although this is one of the steps, one of the things within this episode, we're not quite there yet. We haven't implemented this into.
But it needs to be on the list.
But it does need to be on the list.
It's my way of letting him know.
Because
this is something we need to implement. It's a good way to have a conversation.
It is. It is. Okay. All right. Number 4, assign roles based on personal growth goals. So encourage couples to choose roles that allow for individual growth.
So for instance, he wanted to get more knowledgeable in like the branding and the marketing. I didn't really want to get knowledgeable in that. Right. And so he took a lot of courses, a lot of certifications that we were afforded through the military. So we're able to take a lot of certifications through Coursera, which those are for free. Not for everybody, but it is cost effective. If you want to learn a new skill set that is actually going to move the needle in your business, and you have an interest, like for instance, he was like, okay, we can't just be paying all these people for marketing and advertising and all stuff. We wanted to build organically. I like organic. That's how I built the first business by myself, was organic. And so we wanted to do that. And it's a longer strategy, but I feel like it's a life strategy, a little bit different. And then when you get to a certain place, I do believe you can do ads.
When you get to a certain place, or when you get to a certain amount of money, I would suggest doing ads.
Yes.
Or if you want to, but if you don't want to, you don't necessarily have to. No. Unless you're trying to create another milestone to hit. I think at some point, ads do come into play.
Valuable.
They're valuable, especially if you're trying to hit a new revenue.
Or a new audience.
Or a new audience. Span. But in the beginning stages, it's not really necessary. I think building organically is the most effective, cost-effective way.
Yeah, because think of it as the foundation of your business. So like going back to what I was saying was, for him, he wanted to get more deeper in the branding and the marketing space and really learn what it really entailed, because we that wasn't my expertise. Like,
those skills can then turn into helping our business grow.
Absolutely. So not only was it going to help our business, but when we are serving clients in our community, we're able to advise you, this is what works and this is what doesn't work. And it's not one way to do business, but that was a skill set that was going to help us in the long run. So take it and run.
And you don't have to be an expert. Again, so like, say for me, for instance, I'm not an expert in marketing or branding. I have an understanding. Mm-hmm. I know where to find information. I have somewhat of an understanding most of the time with marketing and branding. Well, more so marketing. I feel as though it's more so consistency and having your message down pat with branding.
Yeah.
But I'm not an expert, so you don't necessarily take these courses and then become experts in them and think that you can turn around and be an expert, and then your business just turns around just like that.
But in order to become an expert, you have to keep studying it. Just like you could tie your shoe.
Right.
You're an expert at tying your shoe.
And practicing that education that you, that new skill that you just learned, and to implement it into the business that you and your spouse will.
Yes. And so for my personal growth this year, when this episode probably airing in 2025, but in 2024, my personal growth skill set that I really wanted to dial into was my relationship with God, and understanding, how does this really tie into your business? What are the business principles that are really, that really transform my business? And I had to sit down and I didn't do the traditional marketing. So what was it that made my business so successful? My grandmother used to always say, you have the Midas touch. And it just went over my head. And then
How did that go over your head? Did you not see the Midas like that?
I got it, but you have to believe something. Somebody can tell you something because they see it in you, but you have to believe it. And so I remember when I started the salon, it was mind blowing that I did so little. It was crazy how little I did. And I was like, I'm already at 6 figures. But when I was in New York, I was hitting that ground run. I was so tired. My grandma used to say, you're going to run yourself into the ground. It's okay to take a rest. And so because I had two different worlds that doing the same exact thing, but getting different results and doing less, that's what it was. So last year in 2024, my goal was to get closer to God. And because I had we switched the podcast and was really business focused, it made me study the word more. Cause I'm I'm not going to show up and just be talking on random. Right. I wanted to study before I actually just put an episode out there and stuff like that. But it also brought some revelation to the things that I was like, oh my God, I'm doing so much tradition, a lot of church and ease stuff. I was doing so much things out of tradition and not really understanding the foundation of why are we doing this in church? Why are we studying these things? What are these truths? For instance, tithe. Where that really came from, and why is it such a big thing in church? And now I'm not against tithing into the church, but I am a firm believer that the Lord tells us to give to the poor. And many people give to their churches, and their churches are not even taking care of the poor. They're taking care of their concerts, which I'm using Terrence's language, but you're having more things. You're not doing a lot more outreach. So because of me studying the word, that was a personal growth for me. I had read a couple of books and really got a better understanding. Not that I know the word like the back of my hand, but it set the foundation for where we are today.
So how does that, let's say I didn't particularly like the fact that you were studying the word for personal growth, and because I don't see,
you didn't see the value.
I didn't see the value on how it's going to help the business. How do couples get through that? Let's say one doesn't see the value.
Our God is real big. So I'm just if he doesn't see the value, that's not for you to change.
Okay.
That wasn't for me to change.
Okay.
So what I did was I'm just pray about it. That's your child too, right? God, this is the only way
I'm just saying in general. It doesn't necessarily have to tie to you reading the Bible. But I'm just saying, let's say a couple comes to us and say, hey, I want to do this for personal growth, and just because it helps me not to get into maybe in boring roles or things of that nature. And then the other person doesn't see the value in that. How would you Navigate that.
That's a good question. That is a good question. And I want to be very intentional with answering it. Because there's a lot of things you came to me and I was like, that's a waste of time. Right?
Like what?
Like, okay, let me go back and think that I thought. When you wanted to go to barbering school, I didn't think that was a good use of time.
Okay. We weren't also in business together.
We weren't in business together, right. But you was like, we can go into business.
This whole time we've been married is to build, my whole intent was to build some type of business together and build a legacy together.
And whether it was coming into my lane, the thing that I love, he was willing to do it. And you've always wanted to learn. Right. But I didn't see the value in it. And it was because I was unsure about, do I want to stay in this industry doing this forever?
Okay, but let's say it was, and you're still into this. What I'm trying to get at and ask you is, how would you navigate? How do people navigate, couples navigate if one person has a personal goal, but they don't see that personal, if they achieve that personal goal, or how they don't see how that personal goal is going to help build their business?
Well, I think number one is honesty. Like, I should be able to tell you, or that particular couple should say, I don't see the value in it. If I see the value and I'm very passionate about this value, then it's my job not to just convince you, but it's also another skill set of like sales, right? Is to show you the benefit if I do this thing. That's up to me to communicate that. Now, what you do with that information, then we have to come to a common ground. Okay, so if the other person's like, okay, although I don't see the value of it and I don't even get the point of it, and that other person says, can you wait to do this? And then because they have a different navigation, that's where I think sometimes the conflict, because what the person hears is, I don't not necessarily see that it's valuable, but it's not going to make money. Whatever the reason is, you have to get down to the root of what's the reason. Because I know that there are, like, even though I love doing hair, I still love it. I don't want to do it as a full-time career, like, at all.
I get that.
And I'll go and do it, but you didn't see the value. Like, you're wasting your time. You're not wasting your time, but you're like, we're building this, and that's a distraction. Okay. You didn't see that value. If I wanted to go take a hair class right now, because I'm like, ooh, this is a new concept, you would see that as a waste of time.
Kind of, sort of. No, not really. Because it's a personal goal. Is it a personal goal?
No, it's just something I want to do. Okay. And it's going to develop my skill set in hair. Like, I don't want to lose my skill set in hair.
Okay.
So I think I maybe it's not based on, like, if, like, there's new balayage techniques out there. I still like to find out the new techniques and stuff like that. But me taking it right now, you would deem that as a distraction, not a necessity for my personal development. But I see it as personal development.
Okay.
Right?
And how important is personal development or having personal goals?
I think personal goals are very important in a marriage, because it helps you to develop who you are, to keep you at your forefront of, like, okay, God's put something naturally in me. And I think that personal development can mean many different things. Some people think personal development, I'm going to get my hair done and I'm going to talk to that's not personal development, in my opinion. Let me know what y'all think of personal development is important in the comments. But I think that for me, personal development is important for me in whatever capacity I want to be able to accomplish in this particular year. And I think that I have to give the same grace to you, to what do you want to develop this year? Who do you want to become this year? Like, for instance, when you wanted to do the physique competition to get in the best shape of your life, or whatever the case may be, at that time, you wanted me to cook your lunches and meals. And I was very honest. I said, I support you in this journey. I can't commit to cooking all of those meals because I could have. I did not want to.
Oh, there it is.
Because I was new to motherhood. I was getting back to work. I just couldn't take on another thing to support you. However, my way of supporting was like, if you need to go to the gym 3 times a day, go. You don't need my permission. It's not like, oh, you're not home. I didn't do that. That was the way I could support you in your personal development. Yep. So I think you have to find a way to compromise in that area. Okay. But I think it's truly important. And last year, you gave me the space to, like, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I used to tell you, please don't try to ask me to stay up and watch this movie because I really want to get up. You know, I struggle with getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So certain movies I don't want to watch or certain things I don't want to engage in, and you respect it.
So basically, it boils down to having personal growth goals. Although you might not see it important, it's important to have your individual personal growth goals so that within the business, you don't get bored with certain roles or certain things. You don't feel like, oh, this role is so boring. I feel like I'm stuck, things of that nature. Have personal goals set for yourself that you can achieve. So for instance, for me, personal growth goals as far as certain education, needing to stay on top of marketing because I enjoy marketing. I enjoy branding. I enjoy building websites.
He enjoys music. I enjoy
music. So growing in those aspects helps me continue moving forward in the business that we're building.
Yes.
So if you look at it from that aspect, it goes back to from a previous episode that hopefully you guys will watch or you guys will go see. It goes back to what is your family creed? Mm-hmm. If you guys have one, which is our tagline, if you have one vision, one mission, and one legacy, it'll be easy for you, and a creed, it'll be easy for you guys to have a clear understanding. Like, okay, go ahead, knock out some of those personal growth goals because it's going to help you continue to stay interested into what we are trying to build.
Yeah, and building a business doesn't always feel fun every day. There's a lot of days where you're going to be like, I'm not seeing any results. I'm not seeing no ROI. And when someone is not feeling that, how do you motivate them to feel, to get back into it? And I think that's a lot of times people don't talk about that part.
Right. And I think so many times we think about an ROI as considered as monetary bacon. And it's not. Mm-hmm. The return on investment also, if you're seeing a return on investment in the way your significant other changes and speaks to you and talks to you and things of that nature, or they're always happy or joyous to be because you're allowing them the safe space to go build upon on their own personal growth goals and come in and work on the legacy that you guys are trying to build.
Yeah. Facts.
Boom. All right. Here's the fifth and final point. Agree on a financial decision maker for each area of the business.
Yes, and we gonna have to do a whole nother episode for you guys when it comes to finances.
Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest with
you. One person is the spender and the dreamer, and one person is the logic and reality.
Yeah, I like to, especially when it comes to creative tools.
Yes,
I like to have in my arsenal. I will add it to the monthly expenses.
Yes.
I've gotten better because now I ask first.
Yes. And it's not an ask like, can I get this? Yeah,
it's more so.
Yeah, he has to sell me on it because I'm always like, okay, what's the point? What's the purpose? How is it going to help you? Because normally the times is, or the things that he's looking at, it's from a marketing or a branding or to save us time.
Right.
And because we are in this time freedom building business, you want to look for things that are going to make your life super easy or make the client experience easier, whatever it is that you're doing. So when it comes to the financial decision, whoever is stronger at the finances should take over that role. You are the CFO of that particular part of your business. Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to making big decisions or big marketing budgets or whatever it is, I don't know where you are in your journey, but when you are at the beginning stages, you need to be as lean as possible. Right. And a lot of people in the new entrepreneurship space think you have to spend to get the result or the ROI that you want. And it's completely the opposite. The less I spend in my brick and mortar business, the more money I made because I wanted the ROI. I needed to make the money. I needed to make the transactions happen so that now I could invest in more stuff. Mm-hmm. That is not to say that you shouldn't invest. You just have to invest strategically. When it comes to the finances of the business, write down the necessities that it takes for the business to run. Mm. That's it. That's what you should be focusing on then. And then the person who makes the financial decision has to give grace to the person that does not, that's always coming with, oh, we should purchase this. Oh, we should do this. And the reason why I say grace is because they're always going to see that this is a great thing that we can do. Everything seems great, but is it great for your business? Because don't forget, your business right now being picked up from the ground is also going to affect your family. And every financial decision that you make in your business has a direct ROI results to affect your personal life. And so is money going to be the problem that, you end up having? They already say that money is the number one reason why people divorce. I believe it's communication.
That's what I believe.
I think it's communication.
And we'll get on more. More on that and why I believe it's communication.
But when it comes to the financial, someone needs to be the designated CFO of the business. And that means you're looking at everything that comes in. You're having a meeting by yourself before you bring it to the person that doesn't care about the finances.
Right. So with that being said, for instance, she will have the final say on finances. Whereas for me, I will have more say on, or final say on, the creative aspect of or projects. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't bring her in on the creative projects and ask her for her input, because it is her business too. It's our business. Just like, for instance, it's not like she won't bring me in to the finances. 9 times out of 10 anyways, I don't even want to hear about no finances, honestly speaking.
Never. It's like
I'm just being, but that's not a good thing. I should know about the finances, and how certain things affect the business finances.
Yeah. It doesn't bother me at all. I actually enjoy it. It's fun for me. I have no problem with doing any of those things. I know that it's not his fun. So I'm not going to sit down. I noticed when I would bring spreadsheets and the bank statements and all that stuff, he was already checked out. That was just way too much. So if I just wrote it down on a piece of paper and say, okay, this is what our business expenses are. This is how much the business is making or not making. We got to figure out what can go. And I asked him from the creative space, what is it on this list that we can eliminate that is not making or breaking our business right now? And 9 times out of 10, he would literally say, okay, this is not, this can go, that can go. So I'm not the one that's like coming in, we need to scratch this, and that. It was just very easy for him to make the decision. And then I go back and I execute it. When it comes to tax time, which we'll do a whole different episode for that, we'll get into the finance, because I know that is a huge part that brings struggle to any marriage, especially if you're running a business.
Right.
And I can talk about that all day. I love it. It just gets me excited. But I can't wait till we become millionaires, because I just want to see what it's like. And then I love helping people in their finances. That's just the one thing. But I think that's the area that somebody has to be designated to, so that you can eliminate so much of the trouble.
And making sure that you guys I would say, go ahead and revisit the roles and say, hey, are you still filling up to the task of taking control? And once y'all set that tone, and once y'all put your foot down on saying, okay, I'm the final decision maker of the finances. I'm the final decision maker when it comes to marketing. Once you have those established, don't try to take over the other person's lane, your significant other's lane. Stay in your lane, and then your spouse stays in their lane, and then y'all come in collectively and collaboratively and speak on certain things. Because there might be some times where, although she handles finances,
I might make a mistake.
She might make a mistake, or she might be, she might not have an answer for. So then, at that point in time, it would be wise to bring in your spouse and ask them for their input.
Yeah, you can't carry the load, especially financially. Everybody has to know what is happening financially. That's the health of your company. You don't have a business, you'll end up with a hobby quickly if it's not doing what it's supposed to do. So, and both people can't be yes people.
No.
You have to, somebody has to be like, no, that's not going to work at all. So you have to really get clear on whose role that is, because that's going to bring a lot of problems in your marriage, your personal life. It's just not worth it. So yeah, focus on that. But we will do an entire episode on the finances, because that could be like a 2, 3, 4, 5 part.
When we start talking about finances, and she'll probably run that whole that whole podcast. I mean, I'm sure she'll have questions to ask me, things of that nature. But
you'll have a viewpoint, because you that's not your strong suit. Yeah. So I think it's good for those who are not strong in this area to see what it looks like when someone is stronger in one particular area.
I would agree.
Yes.
All right.
This is a really good episode. I enjoyed it.
So just to go back to the 5 key points that you guys should establish in this episode is identify each partner's energy zone, not just skills. That energy zone is very important, identifying so that it can it doesn't conflict or it doesn't cause any headaches and issues. So if your spouse works better at night, let that person work at night, as long as they get the job or the roles, whatever task that needs to be done in their appointed role. 2, create a no compete rule for responsibilities. That's a good one. I like these. 3, use weekly business sync meetings to avoid surprises, which we don't do. We have to start implementing that into our business.
Moving right along. Okay. Number 4.
Number 4, assign roles based on personal growth goals. Like my personal growth goals is to continue to get better in marketing, branding, and website design, simply because I just enjoy the creative aspect of it, and even more so on video and tech. So my roles are pertaining to that within the business. I don't do any of the boring stuff with finances. And then number 5, agree on final decision maker for each area of the business.
Yes, and we focus more on finances.
So
those were the 5. Those were the 5 tips that we wanted to give you guys.
So that was a really good episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Remember that as long as you guys come together and decide on one vision, one mission, and one legacy, you building your business from the ground zero on up will be easy.
Yes.
Not easy per se, but it'll be a lot easier for you guys to navigate issues and problems that come. Keep the main focus, the one vision that you guys have, that you come up with, the one mission, and that way you guys can build that one legacy for your family.
Yes. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel.
Yes.
We would love for you guys to join the tribe, of course. And definitely share what was your main takeaway in the comments. We want to read them. If you want to keep it a little private, go to the description of this video and definitely send us an email. We love to read your emails. We love the love. And then share this with someone. If this has helped you as a couple, or you know someone that needs to hear this message, this real raw conversation, then definitely go and share it. We will see you guys on the next video.
All right.
And take care.
All right.
Bye.
Peace.